Hello, I'm Jared Taylor with American Renaissance. The internet is trying very hard to suppress my videos. So if you like what you see, I hope you'll send the link to a lot of people. This will come as a shock to my viewers, but this is a good news video. Some good things are happening, large and small. And I'm not even talking about all the people who refused to be bullied about COVID or rose up in fury when men started using ladies' restrooms and competing in women's sports. And everyone has heard about the parents who stormed into school board meetings to make it very clear that 9-year-old Johnny was never again going to be made to stand up and recite all his unearned privileges. Disney got what it deserved when it got all self-righteous about a Florida law that banned public school classes about erotic orientation and sex changes in kindergarten through 3rd grade, for heaven's sakes. It lost its right to operate Disney World in an autonomous enclave, and there's been no more guff from Disney. This is a great trend. When people think their rulers are wrong and crazy about one thing, they're likely to think their rulers are wrong and crazy about a lot of things, which they are. The sheep are beginning to grow sharp teeth and snap back at the wolves, and the wolves are astonished. Here's some good news that got less publicity. Last year, the University of Central Florida fired psychology professor Charles Nagy because of 2 tweets he let fly in the wake of the George Floyd celebrations. They were, sincere question, if African Americans as a group had the same behavioral profile as Asian Americans, on average performing the best academically, having the highest income, committing the lowest crime, etc., would we still be proclaiming systematic racism exists? In other words, how do Asians do so well in white supremacist America? He also tweeted, "Black privilege is real. Besides affirmative action, special scholarships, and other set-asides, being shielded from legitimate criticism is a privilege." Well, students did the off-with-his-head dance, and the school fired a 22-year veteran. Without an income, he had to sell his house to hire a lawyer, but he went before arbitration and got his job back. Now he's going to sue. Some students are unhappy he's coming back, but Professor Nagy says, why don't they pretend that they're real university students and try to learn and be open to other views that don't conform to their view? It's nice to see an academic with backbone. And some good things happened where you least expect it. Hollywood. Hulu passes on Hillary Clinton's series Rodham. Young Hillary was to be played by the actress on the right and old Hillary by the one on the left. Spitting images, aren't they? Believe it or not, this was going to be a dramatic series based on a novel that imagined how Hillary would have turned out if she hadn't married Bill. In this silly novel, she goes into politics on her own, fights off accusations of lesbian sex assault from young staffers, and becomes the first lady president. Someone must have thought that at least an imaginary Hillary might actually be interesting. But even this spiffed up version got the axe. Here's more startling good sense. Netflix scraps several animated projects. One is by Ava DuVernay, who can't do anything without rubbing our noses in the old blackety-black. You may recall that she directed a hugely money-losing remake of A Wrinkle in Time, in which she took a perfectly good story about white people and filled it with black people. She was going to direct something about dragons, racist dragons, needless to say, but she got her walking papers. Netflix has also put a stop to a series that was supposed to be the brainchild of Her Royal Highness Meghan Markle. The Duchess of Sussex had cooked up a series about a 12-year-old girl based on Her Highness, who, as the promo copy says, steps into her own power. Well, looks like she stepped into the breadline. But the best entertainment news is about Ibram X. Kendi. I could do, and I have, a whole video about this fraud, but I will just remind you of what he said about Amy Coney Barrett when Donald Trump nominated her to the Supreme Court. She has 5 children of her own and 2 adopted ones from Haiti. Professor Kendi called her a colonizer who was using her Haitian children as props. He wrote a book called Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America. Since I'm not in the book, my ideas are obviously not racist. This has reportedly been turned into a streaming series about how awful white people are. But there were supposed to be 2 sequels. In a paroxysm of good sense, Netflix canceled them. One was based on a kindy book that explains to young people how awful white folks are. And the other was based on another kindy book that explains to little children how awful white people are. Here's a headline from last week that suggests it may have dawned on Netflix that white people are tired of being told how awful they are. Netflix's woke purge troubled streaming giants' latest layoffs, targeted staff who are among the most vocal social justice warriors working on original content about marginalized communities. Some had grumped loudly about insufficiently lunatic programming. Netflix then told all its employees they could bugger off if there are Netflix shows that offend them. And finally, Hollywood just released a big-budget Viking movie called The Northman, in which every character is white. The Mail Online was left spluttering. White supremacists hijacked The Northman. How dare the director not find at least a few Africans in 12th century Iceland, like this fantasy Afro-Viking from one idiotic series? And wonder of wonders, the Confederacy may be on the march. During the George Floyd celebrations of 2020, the school board of Shenandoah County, Virginia, took Stonewall Jackson's name off a high school and changed Ashby Lee to Honey Run Elementary School. Ashby was one of Stonewall's cavalry commanders, Turner Ashby, known as the Black Knight, and Lee, of course, was the great general. Thousands of people demanded that the old names be brought back, and their return would mark the first case of Confederate rehabilitation I've heard about. Over the long term, the steadiest march of progress has been on a different front: firearms. Look at all the green states on this map. They have what's called constitutional carry, meaning that any law-abiding adult can carry a concealed firearm without a license of any kind. Do you know how many constitutional carry states there were in 1980? Just 1. There are now 24. The 16 blue states, plus the District of Columbia, are gun-friendly too. If you're grown up without a record and meet certain requirements, such as passing a training course, the state must grant you a carry license. It's only in the 9 remaining primitive red states that a citizen has to persuade the authorities he has a special reason to carry a weapon. This is earth-shaking change in just a few decades. It shows what determined people can accomplish, even in the teeth of powerful, hostile, ruthless elites. If we had made that kind of progress on race, by now, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 would be repealed, we would have real free association, and there would be recognized regions in the country where permanent white majorities set their own immigration policies. And so, today's message is this: the crazies don't always win. Things can get better. Sometimes things get a lot better. It's a matter of persistence, faithfulness, and never losing sight of the wonderful destiny we will have if we prove we are worthy of our heroic past. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to this video channel and give this video a thumbs up. Also, I invite you to visit Amren.com, AMREN.com, where you will find podcasts, videos, discussions, a lot of things that I feel sure will interest you. But again, thank you so much for watching.